And we're live. Here we are now, boys and girls. It is a bold, blessed, and beautiful Sunday. It is a Sunday morning. I've been up since before Jesus and the rest of the Irish. Since 3:30 a.m. Gonna just have a wee sip of water here, and then we'll get to it. I don't want to hold the microphone either. I think we need a hat. Hang on. Un momento, por favor. We're kicking off from page 63, where we picked up, where we dropped off last week on House of Leaves. Highlight of the week for this wee immigrant. So it is. Here we are now. Gonna have a nice laugh and a nice wee book. Actually, not a wee book. It's quite a big book. A big bookie book. I didn't get myself. Or maybe I need a gold chain. A nice Van Cleef or Cartier gold chain would be good. Then I can just hang the mic from there. Or maybe is my chest thick enough? Oh wait, I can just rest. Okay. That was just completely organic. I can just rest it on my chest. That's cool. Okay. We'll backtrack to the previous paragraph, will we? Why not? Why not? Considering the complexity of Karen and Anna Davison's relationship, it is fortunate for our understanding of their problems is not left entirely up to interpretation. Some of their respective views and feelings are revealed in their video journal entries. Sex, sex, sex. Karen whispers into her camcorder. It was like we just met when we got here. The kids would go out and we'd fuck in the kitchen, in the shower. We even did it in the garage. But ever since that closet thing appeared, I can't. I don't know why. It terrifies me. On the same subject, Davison offers a similar view. When we first moved here, Karen was like college co-ed. Anytime, anywhere. Now, all of a sudden, she refuses to be touched. I kiss her, she practically starts to cry. And it all started when we got back from Seattle. But the division between them is not just physical. Karen again. Doesn't he see I don't want him going in there because I love him? You don't need to be a genius to realize there's something really bad about that place. Navy, don't you see that? Ned Davison, the only thing I want to do is go in there, but she's adamant that I don't, and I love her, so I won't. But, well, it's just killing me. Maybe because I know this is all about her fears, her anxieties. She hasn't given... I apologize. Excuse me. She hasn't even given a thought to what I care about, until finally, the lack of physical intimacy and emotional understanding leads both of them to make privately voiced ultimatums. Karen. But I will say this, if he goes in there, I'm out here, kids and all. Ned Davison, if she keeps up this cold front, you bet I'm going in there. Then one night in early August, and the equally famous dropped in for dinner. I'm not skipping the names, they're just left blank in the book, okay? It is a complete coincidence that they happen to be in DC at the same time, but neither one seems to mind the presence of the other. As said, any friend of Navy's is a friend of mine. Ned Davison and Karen have known both of them for quite a few years, so the evening is light-hearted and filled with plenty of amusing stories. Clearly, Karen and Ned Davison relish the chance to reminisce a little about some good times when things seemed a lot less complicated. Perhaps a little starstruck, Tom says very little. There's plenty of opportunity for a glass of wine, but he proves himself by keeping to water, though he does excuse himself from the table once to smoke a joint. Much to Tom's surprise and delight, joins him. As the evening progresses, so-and-so harps a little on Davison's newfound domesticity. No more crazy Navy, huh? Are those days gone for good? I remember when you'd party all night, shoot all morning, and then spend the rest of the day developing your film in a closet with Just a bucket and a bulb if you had to. I'm willing to bet you don't even have a dark room here, which is just a little too much for the Davison to bear. Here, so and so. You want to see a dark room? I'll show you a dark room. Don't you dare, Navy. Karen immediately cries. Come on, Karen. There are friends, the Davison says, leading the two celebrities into the living room where he instructs them to look out the window so they can see for themselves his ordinary backyard. Satisfied that they understand nothing but trees and lawn could possibly lie on the other side of the wall, he retrieves the four colored keys hidden in the antique basket in the foyer. Everyone is pretty tipsy, and the general mood is so friendly and easy, it seems impossible to disturb. Which, of course, all changes when the Davison unlocks the door and reveals the hallway. So and so takes one look at the dark place and retreats into the kitchen. 10 minutes later, so and so is gone. So and so steps up to the threshold, points in Davison's flashlight to the wall and the floor, and then retires to the bathroom. A little later, so and so is gone. Karen is enraged by the whole incident. She makes the Davison sleep on the couch with his beloved hallway. No surprise, Davison falls asleep. He tosses around for an hour until he finally gets up and goes off in search of his camera. A little card reads Exploration A. The timestamp on the Davison's camcorder indicates that it is exactly 3:19 a.m. Call me impetuous or just curious, we hear him mutter as he shoves his sore feet into a pair of boots. But a little look around isn't going to hurt. Without ceremony, he unlocks the door and slips across the threshold. Talking with him only a Hi8, a Megalite, and his 35mm Nokia. The commentary he provides us with remains very spare, cold. Wow, really cold. Walls are dark, similar to the closet space upstairs. Within a few, yeah, oh my lord. Within a few seconds, he reaches the end. The hallway cannot be more than 70 feet long. That's it, nothing else. No big deal. Over this, Karen and I have been fighting, except as Davison swings around, he suddenly discovers a new doorway to the right. It was not there before. What the? Davison carefully nudges the flashlight into the new darkness and discovers an even longer corridor. This one easily, I'd say, 100 feet. A few seconds later, he comes across a still larger corridor branching off to the left. It is at least 15 feet wide with the ceiling well over 10 feet high. The length of this one, however, is impossible to estimate, as Davison's flashlight proves useless against the darkness ahead, dying along before it can ever come close to determining the end. And Davison pushes ahead, moving deeper and deeper into the house, eventually passing a number of doorways leading off into an alternate passages and or chambers. Here's a door, no lock. A room, not very big. Empty, no windows, no switches, no outlets. Heading back to the corridor, leaving the room. It seems colder now. Maybe I'm just getting colder. Here's another door, unlocked. Another room. Again, no window, continuing on. Flashlight and camera skitter across the ceiling and the floor in loose harmony, stabbing into small rooms, alcoves, or spaces reminiscent of closets, though no skirts hang there. Still, no matter how far Davison proceeds down this particular passageway, his light never comes across. His light never comes close to touching the punctuation point promised by the converging perspective lines, sliding on, spawning one space after another, a constant stream of corners and walls, all of them unreadable and perfectly smooth. Finally, And Davison stops in front of his entrance, much larger than the rest. It arcs high above his head and yawns into the undisturbed blackness. His flashlight finds the floor, but no walls. And for the first time, no ceiling. Only now do we begin to see how big Ned Davison's house really is. Something should be said here about Ned Davison's hand. Something should be said here about Ned Davison's hand. Out of all the footage he personally shoots, there rarely exists a shake, tremble, jerk, or even a case of poor framing. his camera, his camera, no matter the circumstances, manages to view the world, even this world, with a remarkable steadiness, as well as highly redefined aesthetic sensibility. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. This is actually good because it makes me sit up straighter. That's never a bad thing. Okay. Comparisons immediately to make Ned Davison's strengths apparent. Holloway Roberts' tape is virtually unwatchable. Tight title frames, out of focus, shakes, horrible lighting, and finally oblivion when faced with danger. Likewise, Karen and Tom tapes reflect their inexperience and can only be considered for content. Only the images that Davison shoots captures the otherness inherent in the place. Undeniably, Ned Davison experiences as a photojournalist gives him an advantage over the rest when focusing on something that is as terrifying as it is threatening. But of course, there is more to work here than just the courage to stand and focus. There is also the courage to face the shape and subject in an extremely original manner. Oh no. I'm sorry. And there's an entire page of names that I'm not going to read. Oh, wait, that's because it's in the forward. There you go. Yeah, 75. Never mind. Okay, again, a big forward. Okay, as Ned Davison takes his first step through the immense arc, he is suddenly a long way from the warm light of the living room. In fact, his creep into the place resembles the eerie faith required of any deep sea exploration. The beam flashlight searching at nothing but the invariant blackness. Then Davison keeps his attention focused on the floor ahead of him, and no doubt, because he keeps looking down, the floor begins to assume a new meaning. It can no longer be taken for granted. Perhaps something lies beneath it. Perhaps it will open up into some deep fissure. Suddenly, immanentable silence rushes in to replace what had momentarily shattered it. Ned Davison freezes, unsure whether or not he really just heard something growl. "I better be able to find my way back," he finally whispers, which, though probably muttered in jest, suddenly catches him off guard. Ned Davison swiftly turns around. Much to his horror, he can no longer see the arc, let alone the wall. He has walked beyond the range of his light. In fact, no matter where he points the flashlight, the only thing he can perceive is oily darkness. Even worse, his panic turn and the subsequent absence of any landmarks has made it impossible for him to remember which direction he just came from. "Oh God," he blurts, creating odds repeats in the distance. He twists around again. "Hey," he shouts, spawning a multitude of A's, then rotates 45 degrees and yells, "Balls!" A long moment of silence follows before he hears the faint hauls racing back through the dark. After several more, each turns, he discovers a loud, easy returns AZ with the least amount of delay. This is the direction he decides on. And within less than a minute, the beam from his flashlight finds something more than darkness. Quickening his pace slightly, Davison reaches the wall and the safety he perceives there. He now faces another decision, left or right. This time, before going anywhere, he reaches into the pocket and places a penny at his feet. Relying on the marker, he heads off. He heads left for a while. When a minute passes and he has still failed to find the entrance, he returns to the penny. Now he moves off to the right and very quickly comes across a doorway. Only this one, as we can see, is much smaller and has a different shape than the one he originally came through. He decides to keep walking. When a minute passes and he still has not found the ark, he stops. Think, Navy, think, he whispers to himself, his voice edged slightly with fear. Again, that faint growl returns, rolling through the darkness like thunder. Ned Davison quickly does an about face and returns to the doorway. Only now he discovers that the penny he left behind, which should have been at least 100 feet further, lies directly before him. Even stranger, the doorway is no longer the doorway, but the ark he had been looking for all along. Unfortunately, as he steps through it, he immediately sees how drastically everything has changed. The corridor is now much narrower and the ends very quickly in a T. He has no idea which way to go. And when the third growl ripples through the place, this time significantly louder, Ned Davison panics and starts to run. His spirit, however, lasts only a few seconds. He realizes quickly enough that it is useless, even dangerous course of action. Catching his breath and doing his best to calm his frayed nerves, he tries to come up with a better plan. Karen, he finally shouts. A flurry of air ends almost instantly swallowed in front of him. Tom, he tries, briefly catching hold of the ohms as they too start to vanish. Though before doing so completely, and Davison momentarily detects in the last a slightly higher pitch entwined in his own voice. He awaits a moment and, not hearing anything else, shouts again, "I'm here," giving rise to tripping in ears, reverberating and fading until in the next last instant a sharp cry comes back to him, a child's cry calling out for him, drawing him to the right. By shouting, "I'm here," and following the addies singing off the walls, the Davison slowly begins to make his way through the incredibly complex and frequently disorientating series of turns. Eventually, after backtracking several times and making numerous wrong choices, occasionally descending into disturbing territories of silence, the voice begins to grow noticeably louder, until finally Ned Davison slips around corner, certain that he has found his way out. Instead, though, he encounters only more darkness, and this time greater quiet. His breathing quickens. He is uncertain which way to go. Obviously, he's afraid, and then, quite abruptly, he steps to the right through the low passage and discovers a corridor terminating in warm yellow light, lamplight, and a tiny silhouette standing in the doorway, tugging her daddy home with a cry. Emerging into the safety of his own living room, Ned Davison immediately scoops Daisy up in his arms and gives her a big hug. "I had a nightmare," she says with a very serious nod. Similar to the Kambula icefall at the base of the Mount Everest, where blue scares change unexpectedly. Blue scares and chasms change unexpectedly throughout the day and night. And Davison is the first one to discover how That place also seems to constantly change. Unlike the icefall, however, not even a single hairline fracture appears in those walls. Absolutely nothing visible to the eye proves nothing to the visible eye provides a reason for or even evidence of those terrifying shifts in which a matter of moments reconstitute a simple path into an extremely complicated one. Okay, and then it looks like we break off into a character piece until the end of the chapter. Okay, so, oh wait, no. Okay, I'll come back for the character piece and I'll finish what we're doing here. Into an extremely complicated one. What's the matter? She murmurs, still half asleep. Go back to sleep. Daisy just had a bad dream. Davison starts to go back downstairs. I'm so sorry, Karen says quietly. I'm sorry I got so mad. It's not your fault. That thing just scares me. Come back to bed. And as they later confide in separate video entries that night, for the first time in weeks, they made love again. Their descriptions running the gamut of anything from gentle to comfortable to familiar and very satisfying. Their bodies had repaired what words never tried to, and at least for a little while they felt close again. The next morning, with harmony now restored, Davison cannot bring himself to tell Karen about his visit. Unfortunately, having nearly gotten lost inside his own house has for the moment diminished his appetite for its darkness. He promises to turn over the initial investigation to Billy Reston. Then we'll call the New York Times, Larry King, whoever will move. End of story. Karen responds to his offer with kisses, clinging to his hand, and stability of sorts once again returning to their lives. Still, the compromise is far from satisfying. As Karen records on her hi8, I told Navy, I'll stay for the first look in there, but I've also called Mom. I want to get out of here as soon as possible. Now, Davison admits in his, I feel lousy about lying to Karen, but I think it's unreasonable of her to expect me not to investigate. She knows who I think I am. She knows who I am, I think. At which point, the study door suddenly swings open, and Daisy, wearing a red and gold dress, barges in and begins tugging on her father's sleeve. Come play with me, Daddy. Now, Davison lifts his daughter onto his lap. Okay, what do you want to play? I don't know, she shrugs. Always. What's always? But before she can answer, he starts tickling her around the neck, and Daisy dissolves into bursts of delight. Despite the tremendous amount of material generated by Exploration A, no one has ever commented on the game. Daisy wants to play with her father, perhaps because everyone assumes it is either a request to play always or just a childish neologism. Then again, always slightly impronounces hallways. It also echoes it. That's cute and funny. Wow, what a book. Okay, so that's the end of that chapter. So now there's this character piece for 3 pages. All right, everyone, pay attention now. Gather around. Here we are. Nothing visible to the eye provides a reason, a fitting phrase for what happens. And to think, my day actually started off pretty well. I woke up, had an almost wet dream about Thumper. She was doing this crazy Margarita Garalita Zell dance, veil after colored veil after colored veil. Thrown aside, though oddly enough never landing, rather flying around her as if she were in the middle of some kind of gentle twister. These sheer sheets of fabric continuing to encircle her, even even as she removes more and more of them, allowing me only momentary glimpses of her body, her smooth skin, her mouth, her waist, her eyes. I get a glimpse of that too, and I'm moving towards her, moving past all that interference, certain that with every step I take, I'll soon have her. After all, she's almost taken everything off. No, she has taken everything off. Her knees are spreading apart, just a few more vials to get past, and I'll be able to see her. Not just bits and pieces of her, but all of her. No longer molested by all this nonsense. In fact, I'm there already, which means I'm about to enter her, which apparently is enough to blow the circuit. Hit the switch, prohibit that sublime and much anticipated conclusion, leaving me blind in the daylight stream pouring through my window. Fuck. I go off to cuff in the shower. At least the water's hot and there's enough steam to fog the mirror. Afterwards, I pack my pipe and light up, wake and bake, more like wash and bake. Half a bowl of cereal and a shot of bourbon later, I'm there, my friendly haze having finally arrived. I'm ready for work. Parking's easy to find on Viesta. I jog up the sunset on I jog up the sunset, even jog up the stairs, practically skipping past the appointment only sign. Why skipping? Because as I step into the shop, I know I'm not even 1 minute late, which is not usually the case for me. The expression on my boss's face reveals just how astonishing an achievement this is. I could care less about him. I want to see Thumper. I want to find out if she's really wearing any of that this diaphanous rainbow fabric I was dreaming about. Of course, she's not there, but that doesn't get me down. I'm still optimistic she'll arrive, and if not today, why fuck, tomorrow's just another day away. A sentiment I could always sing. I immediately sit down at the side counter and start working, mainly because I don't want to deal with my boss, which could mean jeopardizing my good mood. Of course, he couldn't care less about me or my mood. He approaches, clearing his throat. He will ruin everything, except it suddenly penetrates what chalky material he actually insists on calling his brain. And I'm building his precious points. And sure enough, this insight prohibits his trap from opening, and he leaves me alone. Points are basically clusters of needles used to shade the skin. They are necessary because a single point amounts to a prick, not much bigger than this period. Okay, maybe a little bigger. Anyway, 5 needles go into what's called a five, or 7 for 7s, and so on, all soldered together towards the base. I actually enjoy making them. There's something pleasant about concentrating on the subtle details. The precision required, constantly checking and rechecking to assure yourself that yes, indeed, the sharps are all level in the correct arrangement, ready at last to be fixed in place with dots and hot solder. Then I recheck all my rechecking. The points must not be too close, nor too far apart, nor skewed in any way. And only then, if I'm satisfied, which I usually am, though take heed usually does not always mean always, will I scrub the shafts and put them aside to be sterilized later in the ultrasound or autoclave. My boss may think I can't draw worth a shit, but he knows I build needles better than anyone. He calls me he calls me all the time on my tardiness, to my tendency to drift and moither, Moither. I don't know, I've never seen that word before. And of course, the odds that I'll ever get to tattoo anything. Johnny, nothing you do, shaking his head. No one's ever going to want to make permanent useless permanent unless they're crazy. And let me tell you something, Johnny, crazies never pay. But about my needle making, I've never heard him complain once. Anyway, a couple of hours whiz by. I'm finishing up a batch of fives and my boss's cluster of choice when he finally speaks, telling me to pull some bottles of black and purple ink and fill a few caps while I'm at it. We keep the stuff in the storeroom in back. It's a sizable place, big enough to fit a small work table. You have to climb every eight. I'm sorry, this font that they're using just seems to be a little more difficult to read. Um, you have to climb 8 pretty steep steps to reach it. That's where we stock all the extras, and we have extras for almost everything except light bulbs. For some reason, my boss hasn't picked up any extra light bulbs in a while. Today, of course, I flick the switch and flash, bam, pop. Okay, scratch the bam, but the storeroom bulb burns out. I recommence flickering. I recommends. I recommence flickering as if such insistent, highly repetitive, and at this point pointless action could actually resurrect the light. It doesn't. The switch has been rendered meaningless, forcing me to feel my way around in the dark. I keep the door open so I can see okay, but it still takes me a while to negotiate the shadows before I can locate the caps of ink. By now, the sweet effects of my dream, to say nothing of the soft thrumming delivered care of alcohol and Oregon bud, have worn off, though I still continue to think about Thumper, slowly coming to grips with the fact that she won't be visiting today. This causes my spirits to drop substantially until I realize I have no way of knowing that for certain. After all, there's still half a day left. No, she's not coming. I know it. I can feel it in my gut. That's okay. Tomorrow's fuck that. I start filling caps with purple, concentrating on its texture, the strange hue, imagining I can actually observe the rapid pulse of its bandwidth. These are stupid thoughts, and as if to confirm that sentiment, darkness pushes in on me. Suddenly, a slash of light on my hands looks sharp enough to cut me, real sharp. Move and it will cut me. I do not move, and guess what? I start to bleed. The laceration isn't deep, but important stuff has been struck, leaking over the table and floor, lost. I don't have long, except I'm not bleeding through, though I'm breathing hard, real hard. I don't need to touch my face to know there are now beads of sweat slipping off my forehead, flickering off my eyelids, streaming down the back of my neck. Cold hands, hands of the dead. Something terrible is going on. Going extremely wrong. Get out. I want to get out, but I can't move. Then as if this were nothing but a grim prelude, shit really starts to happen. There's uh there's there's that awful taste again, sharp as rust, wrapping around my tongue. Worse, I'm no longer alone. Impossible, not impossible. This time it's human, maybe not. Extremely long fingers. A sucking sound too, sucking on teeth, teeth already torn from the gums. I don't know how I know this, but it's already too late. I've seen the eyes, the eyes. They haven't, they have no whites. I haven't seen this. The way they glisten red. Then it begins reaching for me, slowly unfolding itself out of its corner. Mad meat, all of it. But I understand. These eyes are full of blood, except I am only looking at shadows and shelves. Of course, I'm alone. And then behind me, the door closes. The rest is in pieces, a scream, a howl, a roar. It's warping, it's splintering. That makes no sense. There's a terrible banging. The air's rank with stench. At least that's not a mystery. I know the source. Boy, do I ever. I've shit myself, pissed myself too. I can't believe it. Urine soaked into my pants, fecal matter running down the back of my legs. I caught in it. Must run and hide from it, but I can't move. In fact, the more I try to escape, the less I can breathe. The more I try to hold on, the less I can focus. Something's leaving me, part of me. Everything falls apart. Stories heard, but not recalled. Letters, too. Words filling my head, fragmenting like artillery shells. Shrapnel, like syllables flying everywhere, terrible syllables, sharp, crackled, traveling at murderous speed, tearing through it all in a very, very bad, perhaps even irreparable way. Known some call is air am incoherent, yes. Without meaning, I'm afraid not. The shape of a shape of a shape of a face disassembling right before my eyes. What wail embattled break, like a hawk, another Malden or no Malden at all, on snowy days or not snowy at all, far beyond the edge of any reasonable awareness. This is what it feels like to be really afraid, though of course it doesn't. None of this can truly approach the reality of that fear. There is, in the midst of all that bedlam, like the sound of the heart or some other unholy blast, desperate and dying, slamming, no banging, into the thin wall of my inner ear, paper shattered long ago. I should be dead. Why am I still here? And as that question appears, coincidence in order, properly accented, I see I'm holding onto a tray loaded with all those caps and bottles of black and purple ink. Not only that, but I'm already walking as fast as I can through the doorway. The door is open, though I did not open it. I stub my toe. I'm falling down the stairs, tripping over myself, hurling the tray in the air, the caps, the ink, all of it, floating now above me as my hands, independent of anything I might have thought to suggest, reach up to protect my head. Something hisses and slashes out at the back of my neck. It doesn't matter. Down I go, head first, somersaulting down those 8 pretty steep steps, a wild blur, leaving me to passively note the pain spots that as they happen, shoulders, hips, elbows, even as I also, even even as I also at the same time, remain dimly aware of so much ink coming down like a bad rain, splattering around me everywhere, covering me, even the tray hitting me, though that doesn't hurt, the caps scattering across the floor, and of course the accompanying racket, telling my boss, telling them all, whoever else there was, what? Not that it was over, it wasn't, not yet. The wind's knocked out of me. It's not coming back. Here's where I die, I think. And it's true. I'm possessed by the premonition of what will be, what has to be, my inevitable asphyxiation. At least that's what they will see, my boss and crew, as they come running to the back, called there by all that cluster and mess. What they can't see, though, is the omen seen in a fall, my fall, as I'm doused in black ink, my hands now completely covered, and see the floor is black. And have you anticipated this? Or should I be more explicit? Jet on jet. For a blinding instant, I have watched my hand vanish. In fact, all of me has vanished. One hell of a disappearing act, too. The already foreseen dissolution of the self, lost without contrast, slipping into oblivion, until mid-gasp I catch sight of my reflection in the black of the tray. The ghost in the way. Seems I'm not gone, not quite. My face has been splattered with purple, as have my arms, granting contrast and thus defining me, making me, and at least for that moment preserving me. Suddenly I can breathe, and with each breath the terror rapidly dissipates. My boss, however, is scared. My boss, however, is scared shitless. Jesus Christ, Johnny, he says. Are you okay? What happened? Can you see? I've shit myself. I think to shout, but now I see that I haven't, except for the ink blotting my threads. My pants are bone dry. I mumble something about how much my toe hurts. He takes that to mean I'm all right and won't try to sue him from a wheelchair. Later, a patron points out the long, bloody scratch on the back of my neck. I'm unable to respond. Now, though, I realize what I should have said in the spirit of the dark, in the spirit of the staircase. No one some call is heir am, which is to say, I am not what I am used to be. I am not what I used to be. Next chapter will be chapter 6. Thank you, everyone. That has been this week's reading. Tales from the bed. Tales from the bedroom. Do you like my new bed sheets? If anybody's got anything to say about them, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Every time I look at them, particularly, it's a little gray today, but when the sun is shining, every time I look at them, I just smile. I think they're great. I mean, it's nice pink, baby. Come on now. And they're nice. They feel great. Anyway, silk sheets. Get out there and enjoy yourselves. Keep rocking what you got. I wish everyone a wonderful week to come. And stay blessed, stay bold, stay beautiful. Keep on rocking in the free world. Deedly dee.